Hello everyone, this video is about norms, schemas, expectations, and surprises. So you'll see over here, this is our little schedule for our quick lesson here. Now remember, we're talking about critical thinking, and so at the moment we're considering how it is that we form judgments and how it is that we weigh evidence, things like that. How do we understand ourselves very well and how we're able to process information, and do we understand the other and what they're trying to tell us so we can communicate and have a rational dialogue. Again, your system one goes around kind of like a security camera and it kind of picks up all the information around it, right? Continuing to believe it, to believe it, to believe it, absorbs it, right? Now, as this kind of happens, then beliefs that are connected, right? They're associated. If you're brushing your teeth, then jab back of your mouth, and you'll associate pain with brushing your teeth, and maybe you don't like brushing your teeth now because of that. So there's like associations, right? Every time you say go to the movies, it's always really busy, and so you don't like movies, right? So I don't. Movies are boring, and movies are frustrating because of this, right? Um, so a lot of times our associations between the beliefs are random. Um, but nevertheless, what they do is they construct for us kind of a model of the world. And when you have like these different beliefs, as like we see here, all these little dots are representing beliefs. All these beliefs are things say are all as bits of information that you have acquired in your system one is storing. And the way these things work with each other is that when you gain them, acquire them, and throughout your time of having them, they start to unify and develop into systems of beliefs. And when they start to unify and come together into unified sorts of um, um, uh, connections, then they start producing what's called norms or schemas. Sorry, everyone, I was interrupted for a moment. So where we were was we're talking about how schemas and norms, what the schema and norms are, and how they're formed. So again, if you direct your attention to these little dots, um, these dots represent beliefs acquired at different times. Now, schemas are going to work oftentimes when the beliefs are going to be acquired um, in the same kind of contexts. So, if say you develop all these beliefs right here at the same time, oops, then let's get my pen's not drawing. There we go. Then what you'll get is some sort of connection between them. And so here, then they're bundled up, right? You can see that all these beliefs are working together in a particular way that unify. It has like a boundary, and this boundary doesn't include other beliefs and other perceptions and things. In this schema, this can continue into the system two, because system two is going to have some schemas as well. Now we can think of these boxes here as kind of the attention boundary. So when these beliefs arose or when they became connected, um, they were related to each other because perhaps it feels like one thing was caused by another, but what is that? What is that really? What is that comes one thing appears and then the other thing appeared, and so we put them into this idea of causing. So that's how we associate them because we see one thing appear and we see another thing appear. Um, and then we say they're related. So that's how we think they're associated because they appear to us in that kind of first this, then this. And so these kind of associations will construct um, the norms and the schemas. Now, an issue, and I've mentioned this several times, is that the norms, the beliefs, when they're acquired, it's not always done so with regard to being accurate. Oftentimes, they're randomly associated. And so a lot of times our schemas and our norms are going to involve randomly associated beliefs that are interacting in a way. to help that assists us in directing our attention to the information that we have and that we're confronted with. Um, so here's our norm. We'll call this a norm right here, this box. It's a set of interacting beliefs that are associated with each other, sometimes random, sometimes not. But what do these norms do? Well, these norms and these schemas, they tell us they are the way they identify the way we think the world works and the way we think the world ought to work or should work, right? So a norm then, when a norm is violated, when your cognitive norms are violated, then your expect or you're surprised, right? And so what these norms do is these norms, these system of interacting beliefs, they produce what's called expectations, right? So so for example, I can have passive or active expectations. A passive expectation will be something along the lines of say I'm sitting in my home watching TV and all of a sudden I hear this really loud crashing sound, right? So I'm surprised. I did not ex is The world isn't such that I anticipate there being um, loud booms around my house, loud car crashes or something around my house. So that'd be a passive expectation. Another one would be something like, say, someone appears on my doorstep and I'm like, what the heck? Who is that? Well, that would be odd. That doesn't happen frequently. Because of that, I have a schema that people don't come to the door, and and so I have this passive expectation, and that passive expectation is that no one's going to knock on my door, and so that it's going to be surprised. Well, what the heck, right? Now we also have active expectations, and this is kind of like something along the lines of, say, I invited my friend Matt over to hang out, and I text him, and he says, um, I just left work. Now imagine that Matt's work is like 5 minutes from my home, and I know that Matt's usually a man of his word, and so he says I'm on my way. So then I can kind of keep poking out, you know, looking out the window, uh, seeing if he's there. I start to set up, the house. Maybe it's a little dirty, so I vacuum or something. Just kind of getting things ready. So I have these active expectations. I'm like, and when he doesn't show up, in about 5 or so minutes, then I'm like surprised. Whenever he is, I hope he's okay. I wonder what happened. And so those are surprises. Now, a lot of times when we're surprised and it comes to the information and like informational surprise, like say if you're in an argument about a certain topic like capital punishment or something, this surprise is going to be an indication that what that other person has said or what you read doesn't match with what you believe. Right? Now, if someone says something or does something and it feels good to you, it feels coherent, oh yeah, that seems right, that kind of feeling, then that's going to match with your set of beliefs. It matches with what your expectations are. So here we develop we believe things pretty automatically, and then what we do is we have our system two that explains why or justifies our system one activities, right? So our system one just randomly develops beliefs and associations, and system two is like explaining or justifying why all this stuff is right. Now, the thing is, and I hope you can see this through our textbooks, that it doesn't seem like our judgments, our beliefs are truth apt. That is, it doesn't seem like they track truth very well. In addition, sometimes our beliefs can make our lives miserable, right? So beliefs tend to have two functions, and to get for for true beliefs and to make our lives go well. And so these schemas are lovely and we need them. But it's important to note that when we're surprised about information, or if, say we react to it like no, what that is, that's not telling us that that thing isn't true. It's not, what it's telling us is that it doesn't fit with our system of interacting beliefs, which are often randomly associated. It doesn't tell us anything about the truth or falsity. It only tells us about whether or not it matches the randomly developed, randomly acquired beliefs and the ad hoc um, rationalizations that System 2 makes of this. So surprises then, they're good to tell you when you're surprised about something, say some sort of information, what that tells you is it informs you what your expectations are. You do expect the world to be like this, or you don't expect the world to be like this. When your expectations are violated, then that tells you what your norms are, kind of like the way you believe the world is, and the way you believe that it should be, and also tells you about what one operation of schemas. Uh, that is that it to direct your attention to a certain set of information to ignore the others. And this is related to Kahneman's point about the availability heuristic, or what you see is all there is. Um, because if you have this set of beliefs and they're interacting with each other, and this set of beliefs is the way you think the world is and the way you think it ought to be, when you're surprised by things that are related to that, you're going to think those things are wrong, right? If the world should be like this and it's not, then something's wrong. The thing is, though, that that sense that the world should be like that, that sense is identical to this feeling of ease of coming to a conclusion about what we're talking about. So I'm talking about capital punishment, and I said, "Do you believe in capital punishment?" You're like, "No," or "Yes," or whatever your belief is. Well, that's going to be a report of your automatic processing system. And so when you report that information, um, then and someone disagrees with you, you're going to be very surprised and probably irritated. Now, remember that beliefs, they do have those two roles to find truth and make your life go well. And that's because emotions are a kind of belief. And so when our expectations are violated, we become surprised. When it's something that's important to us, we become outraged. It's important to note, though, that this sense of outrage is just going to be a conflict between the information that was asserted and your different norms or schemas that you've developed over time. It's not, again, an indication of truth. The good news is that we can change our norms and schemas because we can change the way our beliefs are associated with each other. And one fabulous way that psychologists have been able to do this is through cognitive behavioral therapy and acceptance commitment therapies. And in this class, we'll integrate some of the tools in cognitive behavioral therapy to talk about how we can um, structure and control our automatic processes.